wrongfully convicted and sentenced for a crime he didn't commit. Malik Johnson's 5 years behind bars were just the beginning of a fight for justice that would shake the very foundations of a broken system. In a small town where whispers of prejudice lingered in the air, a tragedy was about to unfold that would change the course of many lives. In the courtroom, the gavel slammed down, marking the beginning of a journey that would prove to be both heartbreaking and eye-opening. A young black teenager, Malik Johnson, stood in front of a judge who had long been known for his biased views. Judge Gregory Daniels, a man with a history of racial prejudice, was about to make a decision that would not only alter Malik's life, but set into motion a chain of events no one could have anticipated. Malik had been wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. Despite his alibi, witnesses who could vouch for his innocence, and a lack of concrete evidence, Judge Daniels found him guilty. It wasn't just a case of a judge making an error in judgment. It was a blatant display of racial discrimination, a pattern that had been evident throughout his career. Malik, a bright, hopeful 17-year-old, was sentenced to 5 years in prison. The injustice was palpable, and his family, devastated, could do little but watch as their son's future was ripped away. The years following Malik's wrongful conviction were marked by deep suffering and relentless hardship. As a young black man sentenced for a crime he did not commit, Malik's time in prison was not just a punishment for a crime he was innocent of, it was an institutionalized violation of his human rights. The walls of the prison became more than just physical barriers. They were a symbol of the systemic injustices he faced. With each passing day, Malik felt the weight of society's prejudices pressing down on him. Inside the prison, Malik struggled to navigate the harsh realities of life behind bars. It wasn't just the physical challenges he faced, though the threat of violence and mistreatment was ever present. It was the psychological toll of knowing he had been falsely accused. Prisoners often regarded him with suspicion, many believing that he had been convicted for a reason. The system didn't care about his innocence. It cared only about the sentence that had been handed down. Malik had to constantly prove that he was not a criminal, all while trying to maintain his dignity in an environment that stripped it away. While his time in prison was a nightmare, it was also a time of introspection. Malik wrestled with his anger, frustration, and heartbreak. He clung to memories of his life before the arrest, the dreams he had of becoming an engineer, the friends he had trusted, and the family who believed in him. These memories became his lifeline, a source of strength that kept him going when everything seemed hopeless. But it wasn't just the prison environment that made things unbearable. It was also the isolation from his family. His mother, a fierce advocate for her son, fought tirelessly on the outside. She never stopped trying to clear his name, pushing for appeals and gathering evidence to prove Malik's innocence. However, the legal system was slow, indifferent, and often obstructive. Each appeal took months, sometimes years, and even when new evidence came to light, it felt as if the wheels of justice turned agonizingly slowly. In the meantime, Malik had to face the reality that he was being forgotten by the very society that had wrongly convicted him. His mother's voice, however, echoed in his mind, reminding him that she would never give up on him. One of the hardest parts of Malik's struggle was the constant questioning of his identity. As a young black man, he had always been aware of the biases that existed in society, but the trial and subsequent conviction made him painfully aware of how deeply ingrained racism could be in the justice system. It wasn't just a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was about the prejudices that shaped the way he was perceived. Judge Daniels, the man who sentenced him, had made his decision based on those prejudices, and Malik's race had been a significant factor in the wrongful judgment. As Malik sat in his cell, his thoughts often drifted to the moments before his arrest. How everything had seemed so clear, how he had tried to stay calm and make people understand his side. But in that moment, it became clear to him. Justice wasn't blind. It was influenced by bias, and in his case, It was blinded by the color of his skin. The pain of knowing that a simple fact, his innocence, was being ignored because of racial discrimination, was unbearable. Despite all of this, Malik never gave up hope. He knew that the truth would eventually come to light. He worked on his case, seeking out legal help from any lawyer who would listen. He used his time to educate himself, to learn the law, and to understand how he could best challenge the system that had failed him. He knew that, for his own mental and emotional survival, he had to believe that one day he would walk out of that prison. And, as the years passed, he began to see a faint light at the end of the tunnel. The more he fought, the more he realized that his struggle wasn't just for his own freedom. It was for the freedom of all those who had been wrongfully convicted, for those who had faced the same biases he had, and for the families who lived in agony, waiting for justice to prevail. But despite his resilience, the emotional toll on Malik was immense. The loneliness, the fear, the injustice, it all built up over time. He would often question why this had happened to him, why he had been chosen as a victim of the system. The pain wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, and spiritual. How could a system designed to protect the innocent instead crush the very people it was meant to serve? How could it destroy lives so easily? This internal struggle was one of the most difficult aspects of his prison experience, but it was also what fueled his determination. Malik's fight wasn't just about proving his innocence. It was about reclaiming his humanity, about showing the world that he wasn't just a statistic, a number in a system that didn't care. His story was not just his own. It was the story of every person who had ever been wrongfully convicted, and he vowed that it would not be forgotten. Through it all, Malik's family remained steadfast in their support. His mother never wavered in her belief in his innocence, and her strength was what kept him going. Every letter, every visit, every phone call was a reminder that, even though he was trapped in that prison, he was not alone. The world may have turned its back on him, but his family never did. In this period of suffering and injustice, Malik was forced to confront not just the cruelty of the system, but also his own fears, doubts, and hopes for the future. It was a time of profound pain, but it was also a time of resilience and inner strength that would eventually help him face the challenges ahead. 5 years had passed. Malik, though still haunted by the scars of his wrongful conviction, was finally released after new evidence surfaced. Evidence that proved his innocence beyond the shadow of a doubt. But as he stepped out of the prison gates, free at last, his story didn't end there. The repercussions of the injustice would not only follow Malik, but also strike at the heart of the very person who had sentenced him, Judge Gregory Daniels. What many didn't know was that Judge Daniels had a daughter, Emily. She had grown up in the shadow of her father's position, shielded from the harsh realities that many others faced. Emily had always been proud of her father's stature, believing him to be a fair and just man. But that all changed when a series of tragic events began to unfold. It started with small things, whispers at school, glances from her peers. But soon, the weight of her father's actions became undeniable. Emily, once the picture of privilege, was now taunted and ostracized by those who knew the truth about her father's role in Malik's sentencing. But things escalated quickly. As the news of Malik's release spread, the town became divided. Some saw Malik as a symbol of the broken system, others as a victim of it. Emily, caught in the middle, tried to hold on to the life she knew. But it wasn't long before the pressure became too much. Her once bright future began to unravel. College acceptances were rescinded, friendships shattered, and opportunities slipped through her fingers. People would not forget the stain her father had left on their community. And just as her father had sentenced an innocent young man to prison, Emily found herself trapped in a prison of her own, one built from the consequences of her father's actions. She was forced to confront the reality of the price of prejudice, and it was a price she wasn't prepared to pay. As the years passed, Judge Daniels's reputation took a hit. His decision, driven by his own biases, had cost Malik years of his life, and it had now cost his own daughter her future. Emily tried to reach out to Malik to apologize for the actions of her father, but there were no easy answers. Malik, still scarred by the years he had lost, found it difficult to forgive the man who had condemned him. But over time, he began to realize that his forgiveness wasn't just for Judge Daniels. It was for himself, to finally free himself from the weight of that injustice. The story of Malik Johnson and Emily Daniels is a painful reminder of the destructive power of racial prejudice and how it can ripple through generations. While justice was eventually served in Malik's case, the cost of that justice was high. It wasn't just Malik who paid the price for the flaws in the system. It was Emily, too, the innocent daughter of a man who had let his biases dictate his decisions. In the end, no one was truly untouched by the consequences of Judge Daniels's actions. This is the story of a broken system, a racist judge, and the toll that prejudice takes on all those involved. It's a reminder that true justice requires more than just a decision from a judge. It requires humanity, understanding, and the willingness to right the wrongs of the past. For both Malik and Emily, the price of that justice was steep, and while they may never fully heal from the wounds inflicted upon them, their story serves as a testament to the importance of fairness, equality, and the pursuit of truth, no matter the cost. Ending line. Malik's story is a painful reminder of the cost of prejudice, but also a testament to the strength of the human spirit. His journey toward justice continues, and we can only hope that his fight will inspire change in a system that needs it most. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, Tales by Tristan, for more gripping true-life stories that shed light on the struggles many face in silence.